Make sure to check out my Covey account, link down in the description. And check out my other series, Modern Classics and TV Treasures.
Watch yourself, don't fall off of the shelf.
You must be the new voice in town.
What's that sound? Is someone moving round? Sit down for a spell. You don't look so well.
Wait a minute, I feel great. You just leave yourself to fate. You might as well just hang around.
It's too late, we've got to operate. Just trying to relax. It's the house of wax. Oh, I remember Frankenstein. Shivers up my spine. Wow.
I'm getting out of here.
We'll go to the cellar down below. Trouble is a bubbling in the brew. And while you're down there, Mr. Vincent Price will give you good advice. He'll know what to do. You just tell him boo.
He will put the motor with the storm, I'm telling you. It's like a movie. It's a B-movie show.
Hello, I'm Henry R. Mockingbird, your host with the mustache. And welcome to part 2 of Scaredtober. Today, I'm going to review The Invisible Man. So, let's get started. Mr. Griffin has created a formula that makes himself invisible.
Of course! Don't you know anything about science?
One problem, he doesn't know how to bring himself back. As he reveals himself that he is invisible, he goes on a violent rampage and goes completely stir crazy. So, what do I think of The Invisible Man? Well, I like it. This movie came about after the double whammy smash hits that were Dracula and Frankenstein. So, Frankenstein director James Whale had his pick over what movie he should do next. The film he picked was The Old Dark House. But Universal wanted him to make a sequel to Frankenstein, but he didn't want to do it. So, James Whale did everything in his power to lure Universal away from doing a sequel to Frankenstein. So he came up with the brilliant idea of doing an adaptation of H.G. Wells's The Invisible Man. One problem though, Mary Shelley and Bram Stoker were already dead. James Whale was still alive and kicking. And outside of buying the rights to The Invisible Man, they also bought the rights to another book called Murderer Invisible, which had an invisible octopus, which sounds like something the Asylum would crank out. You know, movies like Sharknado or Sharktopus vs. Whale Wolf. And another crazy idea that book had was having invisible rats causing a worldwide plague, which sounds like a scheme that Rat Boy from Batman Beyond would come up with. Only 2 problems occurred. The first one being is that H.G. Wells was not a fan of Island of Lost Souls, which was an adaptation of one of his books, Island of Dr. Moreau. He felt that the film missed the point of the book entirely. So Universal agreed to be as respectful to his original book as humanly possible. The second problem was who was going to play the Invisible Man. Biggest choice was Boris Karloff, but he ended up leaving the project. The other choice was Colin Clive, but he had to leave the project to go home to see his family in England. Choosing an unknown at the time, Claude Rains, who wasn't even a movie actor around that time. He was a stage performer, and he only had one film under his belt, which was a silent film called Build the House. Finally released to positive reviews on the New York Times and the Film Daily, and ended up getting several in-name sequels like The Invisible Man Returns, The Invisible Woman, The Invisible Agent, and The Invisible Man's Revenge. Effects in this film were created by special effects pioneer John P. Fulton. For any portion in where the Invisible Man would disappear, would be covered in black velvet and photographed against a black velvet backdrop. When combined with a separate shot of the set, it would blend quite seamlessly and would make it look as if he was disappearing. Probably the most difficult effect to pull off was when the Invisible Man was unwrapping his bandages in front of the mirror. This effect took 4 separate pieces of film and combining them together. First, you had to show the back of the Invisible Man as he's unwrapping himself. Then you had to show shots of the room. And then you had to show the reflection in the mirror. And then you had to show him. And combined all together, this is the end result. The other thing they had to do was draw outlines and where the Invisible Man would be standing. They would have to draw these drawings onto a piece of celluloid. To create the Invisible Man's footprints, they would drop foot-shaped blocks of wood out of a specially contained platform covered with artificial snow. To create the effect where the Invisible Man is becoming invisible again, they would encase Claude Rains' face with plaster and put straws up his nose and his mouth, and used a mask. Claude Rains found this process to be extremely claustrophobic and very uncomfortable. Film opens with a dark figure trenching in the snow as he comes to an inn. He pretty much becomes the talk of the inn, except nobody seems to talk about his fake nose. Seriously, Gnome from Super Sentai has a more convincing looking nose than that. And then we meet the Screeching Crow herself, Una O'Connor, as the innkeeper. And to anyone who said that Fay Ray's screaming got old after a while, I dare you to listen to Una O'Connor screaming without feeling the need to cut your ears off.
He's a raving lunatic.
Go and get the policeman.
Please don't cry now. He's all right.
Shut up!
At least Fay Ray's character had a reason to scream because she was being held hostage by a goddamn ape. Una O'Connor has no good reason to scream. She practically screams in this movie like a mad woman. There's, of course, the Invisible Man, aka Jack Griffin, and he ranges from being very sympathetic to being a stone-blooded killer. This is done by Claude Rains, who pulls off the sympathetic side of the Invisible Man, as well as the savage side of him. Does this laugh sound familiar?
How do you like that, eh?
Of course, that was the inspiration for my laugh. So, let us take a look at the Joker himself, Mark Hamill's interview, and see where he got the inspiration.
I wouldn't want to follow Jack Nicholson in anything. I went, oh no, I forgot about that.
Oh, there'll be a hot time in the old town tonight.
But I thought the only way I can do this is do my version. And it's based on the script that they gave me and the one drawing of him. He seemed to be all teeth. All teeth. He reminded me of the Blue Meanies in Yellow Submarine. You draw from all different elements. Because I was doing Claude Rains from The Invisible Man. Crazy? You think I'm crazy? I'll show you who's crazy. I had so much fun doing that character because he's insane. And if you're insane, you're unpredictable. And if you're unpredictable, you're never boring.
Range from straight up murder to downright destruction to pranks that even Jackass would be jealous of. And I gotta say, this is one of the funniest of all the Universal horror movies. James Whale's willingness to combine both horror and humor pretty much go hand in hand. Funniest characters are probably the cops, who belong in the Keystone Cops because they're so oblivious. Like the first cop, who first witnesses the Invisible Man. Wouldn't you be freaking out if you saw someone turn invisible? Well, not this guy. And then there's the pudgy cop with a huge mustache. He gets a few funny lines. And then there's this cop who either looks like he's monotoned, asleep, or under hypnosis, or all of the above. And then there's Flora, played by the beautiful Gloria Stewart. Flora is a departure from H.G. Wells' novel, but I really like her. She's a good reminder of Jack Griffin's humanity. And then there's Dr. Kemp, who is the stupidest character I have ever seen in a horror film. He has the Invisible Man sleeping in his room. So what does he do? He calls the police. Dude, you have the Invisible Man in your house. You know his weakness. All you have to do is chloroform his ass. You and Dr. Carnley can make an antidote for him. You're both scientists. All you have to do is keep him locked in your house and let nobody know he's there. Isn't rocket science, you bloody idiot. Not to mention, when he's offered protection and when the police plan to use him as bait, he doesn't go with the plan. Dude, you know the Invisible Man will kill you no matter where you go. Take the police as bodyguards. At least you would have protection.
The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
I highly recommend The Invisible Man. So disappear and go see this film. 5 gold stars. Well, that's all I have to say about The Invisible Man. Well, until the next review, I'm Henry R. Mockingbird, your host with the mustache, signing off.
This is weird. It's much worse than I feared. I'll close my eyes and make it disappear.
This is strange. It ain't home on the range.
You just tell St. Pete that you got cold feet.
There goes the sun. Here comes the night. Somebody turn on the light.